Welcome to Under the Microscope. I am your host, Jenny Germano. Thanks everyone for joining me today. I am really excited about this next topic that we are going to be discussing. And before I dive in, a little bit about my background. I got my start working in vertical cannabis operations in Colorado in 2009. And in 2015, I founded my company, ICS Consulting, to help operators navigate the challenges in the cannabis industry. So let's please give a warm welcome to my next guest, Blaine Hatab. And Blaine is the CEO of Distru. Thank you so much for joining us today, Blaine.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, everyone.
Why don't you go ahead and give a little bit about your background, your founder story, and what made you want to come into the cannabis industry?
Yeah, totally. So I've been doing this for 10 years. Yeah, it's been a long journey and there's been lots of ups and downs on the way. But how I got into it is I'm a smoker. So I love weed. I've been smoking since I was 16. I've been in the industry in my own capacity since then. But I knew I wanted to be in cannabis because it's a once in a lifetime movement that's going to happen. Cannabis becoming legal. It's going to propel how people culturally receive mushrooms, ketamine, all these different new types of drugs. This is how we think about alternative medicine. It's an alternative form of healthcare. And that's very true. The countless number of stories that you hear about people that drop to pharma med and only do CBD. So that means the world to me. Minority arrests actually is the biggest reason for my motivation to be in cannabis. Like, I feel like every drug dealer is an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And so I just am like, oh man, there's so many wasted entrepreneurs. I hate that. I think we've lost some Elon Musks in there and we just don't know them yet. That's really like why I got in the industry. And then, yeah, I just got into it because I was like, I know this is the time. I got to go. And in a software background, I was originally actually building a hardware product though, too, like before starting Distru. It failed. It went terrible. Lots of money lost, lots of time lost,
Yeah.
not well received. And then I just started Distru, which was when Macursa started. So for every entrepreneur out there, it's all about finding a time in a window. And ours was Macursa. 2016, distribution was required in California. No software was purpose built for that. So we started Distru. And we knew we were going after that domain of these Anheuser-Busch's of cannabis that would be the supply chain hubs feeding out to the rest of the industry.
Sure.
That was like the idea and the why we got into it though.
That's a great story. And so Distru was founded in 2016, correct?
Yeah, 2016, 2017, something like that. Yeah.
That's a good amount of time to survive in the cannabis industry. As we know, it's not for the faint-hearted. And I think what you provide operators is a very important tool, and I'm excited to dive in about that. And one of the pieces I wanted to talk about is cannabis operators. Right now, they're under more pressure than ever. They have tight margins, we have strict compliance, and we have this unpredictable demand. And we're going to talk about how better technology and smarter operations can make the difference just between surviving and actually thriving in the cannabis industry. And so I want to start with why cannabis needs better tech. And from your perspective, what makes cannabis supply chains uniquely difficult compared to other industries?
Yeah. I think what makes it unique is specifically the track and trace ecosystem and having to report to the government. So there's platforms like Metric and BioTrack you have to report to in real time, or other state platforms like Canada has their own thing. And integrating with them and staying compliant is so critical to this industry. So that's like the number one most important thing, which is why Distru and our ERP has a really sophisticated, the number one ERP integration with Metric in terms of two-way syncs. It just nails all the problems there. So that's the main reason why I think it's specific to cannabis. You also have some stuff around THC and batch information and certain processing workflows that are unique to cannabis. So I think there's also like manufacturing and distribution workflows there and like COA integration, things like that. But back to your point about like using software to get smarter about your business, software, technology, people, whatever you use to solve it, I think that the need for businesses to get really tight with their unit economics is not even critical. It's non-optional at this point. I think where it depends on your state. Certain states I think are doing great. I think states, if you're in New York right now, it's only sunshine and rainbows right now. to a certain degree. But for every state that gets mature, yeah, it's the unit economics. And I think that technology plays a huge part in it, but I think it's primarily, if I'm going to be honest, I think it's thinking about the size and shape of your business relevant to that specific state.
Yeah.
And the end goal is still the same. Getting good cash on hand management, getting good inventory on hand management, and optimizing your margins and making sure that you're profitable through and through across every dimension of your company. And I think you start with that by thinking about what is the size and shape of my company, my vertical and my co-man. It depends on the state. You need to nail that. There are certain business models that are doing better than others in given states. And there's no way to avoid that sometimes.
Yeah.
And then I think the next stage beside that, like that's just like the most important thing I think for a cannabis operator. And I think after that, after you've got the right model and you have a good equation, I think that after you survive long enough and you get to a certain scale, 5 dispensaries, 200 store penetration as a brand, then you enter the game where you need tech and you need technology to organize your data and you need to be able to track your entire business. Now you're like, I have a rough idea that these things are profitable and the labor works. And I've got a good model. I've got a good supply of talent that I have on hand that's scalable, all these different layers. And then you need to now prove that out with data across the whole thing at the financial level. And I think that where software comes in is normalizing that data, keeping all that data structured. Where we play is ERP, keeping all your data in one place so you can confidently report across all your different locations to concepts like inventory, employees, and revenue. And then it's insights, automation, things like that. It's automations too. I think that's a big one. Just saving you time. I think that we definitely shave off employee counts at almost every company we go into over time for sure. You can streamline things down to 3 employees.
I think that's some really helpful information. So where do you see operators struggling the most then because of these outdated kind of fragmented systems?
Yeah, I would say that you just have to bite the bullet and actually set up the software. I think most companies are though. If I was to be honest, I think 60% of the companies are getting to that level where they're like, I need some sort of software stack. They either need a person with a stack or they need to choose a tool if that's for their company. But I think most companies understand they need their stack to manage their business as they scale to the next level. I think the ones that are surviving definitely get that.
True.
I think the problems are just adoption across all the layers of the teams. And then integration of all the different layers of data. If they have silos of data and bad data entry management processes, you got to do the work. It costs money, it takes time.
It does.
You got to hire a full-time person. It's like weird. You got to have a full-time person just on just this world, at least like multiple full-time people realistically, but you're trusted high level. I can go to you to do everything person. You need that person. Maybe it's VP level, director level, manager level, depends on your size of company. But you need someone that is to understand your data and analyze it. Hard bullet to like spend 80 to 300K a year, depending on the role to do that.
And you talked about size and when you were talking about when you get to that fifth dispensary, because one of my questions was about smaller operators. And if in case we have people listening that are in a new emerging market and they're only going to be opening one standalone dispensary or one standalone cultivation, and would an ERP system even be helpful for them? Or is that something they should wait until they expand? Like, what are the medium to smaller size operators supposed to do?
Yeah, the medium, I think once you're past that first few dispensaries makes sense. I think for one dispensary, it depends. Like for us at Distru, we primarily focus on the cultivation, manufacturing, and distribution side. We have
Yeah.
integrations with the retailers, Dutchy, Tree, Blaze,
Yep.
so we can
I
automate
saw that.
entry. Yeah, that's a really awesome product we have, to automate data entry into the retail. But do you need a Distru plus a POS? I mean, it's and all these different layers. I would just say the threshold is if you do over 20, 25 to 30 orders a month, at least of volume from your wholesale operation, that's when you should have a stack that is tracking your operation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good, actually. That's a pretty legit number, actually.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
not even a
exactly.
scary number.
Yeah, that you're starting to do volume. So once you get to 100, you definitely need one type of thing Depends on your shape too. If you're like a really wide retail, like with tons of retails versus you have a wholesale arm, but you should use Distru if you have a wholesale arm. If you have a brand, manufacturing, distribution, and you need to keep it all cohesive and super tight with the track and trace platforms, that's when you need Distru.
Yeah, I don't know if you can also talk a little bit about AI and how obviously it's out there now, but will it affect the marketplace and especially with different states and operators? And
With AI, I'd love to start there. We're curious that let's right there. Like, what comes to mind when you think about AI?
I'm the worst person to ask that question because I don't really use a lot of it for myself, but I know that a lot of platforms or technology, it's now starting to lead certain aspects of technology. And a lot of people that I know in the cannabis industry are using AI. I'm still old school. I like writing stuff down and having things come out of my brain, but I use it for more like getting things
Yeah.
organized, so it's a little bit different from me and
I'd
how
be
I use
curious
it.
how they're using AI, but and a lot of people are doing basic setups right now, a little bit of automation. We've been using AI though. We've been doing forecasts for, the entire industry for a long time. That's usually powered by a machine learning algorithm, which is AI. So if anything in our industry, that might be still the most important AI of all the AIs, even though it's already existed before. These forecasts and inventory
Yeah,
controls are so critical. So we already use it. I think when you look at it through that lens, now it's just like an extension of AI that's already existed in cannabis. And now it's just this new form factor. And the new form factor is LLMs, and that's generative AI. And
yeah,
that's working with unstructured text. And if I had to say one thing to all the operators out there is that I've been deep in AI. I mean, coding every day for sure. And just looking into it, trying to understand the limits of it. And this cannabis industry is relatively quite safe from AI, in my opinion. And I don't see people's jobs getting disrupted in a massive way
yeah,
over the next 10 years. I
yeah,
don't see it. I'm like, sales, that production person. Until you don't need no's, you need no's with salespeople and knowing bud and procurement people and knowing quality and taste and manufacturing and like these high level financial decisions that are honestly more politics than they are like actual like equations and cultivation, the art of growing. So I think that AI is going to be in a very specific lane that is going to affect. So I think for the
I agree.
industry, you should feel so safe. You're actually in one of the safest industries out there, in my opinion, to AI. Like legal, healthcare, that stuff's getting disrupted massively. So in our industry, I think that one, just for the people in the industry, we're good. We're safe. We're good. That's great. That's relieving to me. But then where is it going to disrupt things? I would say two levels. One is the consumer side, and then two is
Mhm.
the just more like the software, like infrastructure and everyone using the software. I think that it's going to be basically, I think agentic workflow automations and like workflow automations is going to be probably the biggest thing that's going
Yeah,
to be more ubiquitous. And then like insights. So on the B2B infrastructure side, I think it's the insights and like getting data reports, doing research. Maybe if you're trying to plan a new product line and you want to do some discovery and some deep research type of thing, I could see AI disrupting those and then the automatic workflows. But it's going to be limited, I think, in the B2B space on what it's going to affect.
I think that was really well explained, and I think it's true. If you think about it, a lot of times these cultivation facilities, there's a lot of automation and there's a fertigation and all these automated things that are happening. We still need a human to be in there. And even when we get into cannabis policy and regulations, even like
Yeah.
application writing, you can't just spit it through Chat GPT.
Yeah.
How do you know that the information in there is correctly and you could actually like not win a license if you just rely completely on AI? It's really a tool. A lot of people that I see engaging with it, they're really using it as a tool with workflow and organization and helping manage their tasks.
Assistant. They're like,
Yeah.
it's like they're intelligent, and that's phase one. And phase two is going to be people do the work to automate all these like different layers. Oh, I'm going to pull this data set in of products, and I'm going to help you plug into a template to help you do product discovery research. And it's just got all the data wired in your industry, and it can help you do the thing. I think that is going to be phase two. So I think it's going to be more powerful than we know, but I think it's like 10 to 20% of the industry is going to be massive, of the actions people take in the industry is going to be massively disrupted. But that's it. And I think it's going to be around, as you said, the data stuff, because
Yeah.
compliance is half politics. Like you said, like when you're writing that application, it's half politics, isn't it? It's like knowing what's going on in the pulse and knowing the timing and the windows of people more than it is filling out an application in a particularly well-written way. I'd be curious
Yeah.
what you think about that.
I think too, a lot of times when you write applications, there's really specific rule citations, and there's a lot of making sure that you're connecting everything throughout the entire application, whether that's 20 exhibits. And sometimes that just takes a real person going through and still reviewing. The whole AI thing is very interesting and fascinating. And I would say, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm about a 3. So, like, I'm really not
Yeah,
the
you're
best
good.
person to talk about it at
Yeah,
all.
okay. High level, it's coming and it's
Uh,
coming in certain domains, and I'm very excited those domains. And B2C in the consumer side is a lot of other
Yeah,
creative ideas that I think that could be tapped there as well.
yeah. Tapping into the cost of poor inventory management, one of the things I wanted to cover is, can you paint a picture of what poor inventory management really costs operators? And this is just beyond lost product.
Yeah, I would say poor inventory management, it leads to expired products. It leads to selling, and the B2B layer, we operate mostly distribution, wholesale, and brands and manufacturing. It leads to shipping the wrong thing to a retailer and breaking trust and having to deal with the reorder. It's like wasting your time and losing your brand reputation out there in the market. So I
Yeah.
think that bad inventory management causes overselling, mis-selling, recommunication with the retailer. And I think that just from a brand reputation perspective, I think that's the biggest one. But then, of course, the expiring products, batches going bad, not keeping track of things, then having the last minute sell the inventory. But I would also say it's at a reporting level too. It's like, it's a planning level. It's like, what SKU do I double down on? Or how many people do I hire? How many people can we hire for production? I think when you don't have good inventory management, you actually don't have good financial optics in your company and you make bad decisions. And I think that having those bad decisions are actually even more costly than those other more day-to-day operational layers.
Yeah, I believe there's some compliance risk too, because that mismanagement, I can see that it's going to create compliance risk, especially if there's not, like you said
True. Yeah.
earlier, about the bad data entry.
Yeah. I didn't even think about, yeah, for compliance, that's 100%. That's actually, maybe that's actually more important than everything I just said, because if you're not compliant, you're out of business. So yeah, for compliance, it's actually even the most important. You're right about that.
I feel like operators, they're not just in the cannabis industry with a business, they're like in the business of compliance. Like, it really has to
Yeah.
be in everyone's top 5 most important things in their business in order to stay afloat. Obviously, you don't want to have mismanaged finances, and you want to pay your taxes, and there's a lot of important things to keep yourself going. So what kind of changes do operators see when they finally do streamline their inventory and ops?
Yeah, I think I think once they start to get a team and assembled and multiple people around the concept of data management and automating data, I think you start to free up some hands that can start to do automations of various workflows and start to look at your workflows from a higher level and say, I'm going to streamline that completely. So I think once you free up your team and you get to a scale where you have that person that's going through systemizing things with data, either getting people insights or just fully automating a process, I think you just see tangible cost savings that are just obvious. We don't have that issue of, I think overselling is a big one, more
Yeah.
overselling. Our customers, I've seen hundreds of customers go from I oversell 20% of my orders to literally 0%.
Wow.
0%. Yeah, yeah. You just have that accurate inventory and it needs to be staged in the right room. And you need a person that's like the zealot of the ready to sell room that make sure that is gospel. And then
Yeah.
that's it. And then the sales reps go to their fucking thing and talk to retailers and just click buttons on the menus.
Yeah.
No, shout out to the sales reps in the industry, but like
Yeah.
that's all you need to do it. But I think overselling is an example of
It is.
one area of it, but I think it's like reporting, it's production planning, it's procurement optimization. It depends where your business adds, having that fluidity to be able to solve those problems when they come up and automate them for scale. And you're bringing other people as you hire more into that world that's been figured out that makes sense. Yeah. So I think that's a big part of it. And when you go to the big companies, have the director of IT with a whole team around it. It's a whole different world. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is. So, like, I want to talk about KPIs. And for those who might not know what a KPI, can you explain that really quick? There could be
Yeah,
a
totally.
small company that might not know what that means.
Yeah, yeah. So KPI means key performance indicator. I don't know. It's just a fancy word for a goal.
I like
But
that.
yeah, it's just a goal, right? Yeah, KPIs in the industry. I almost think like it means money is first and foremost, your flow of your money. And then the next thing is inventory, which is a direct connection to your money. You know how your money flows, and the biggest cost factor is inventory. So you need to know your inventory and how that's flowing and stay on top of that. And you need to know labor as well, I think, in that component. I think the other layers around average costing rent and things, they're so easy to track. It's not like a big focus. You don't need to focus on there. You want to focus on the KPIs that have variance. So I think that is first and foremost, as I said, money. And then it's just all the data needed to be able to track your money, flow of money. Now, like how that shapes up for you. If you're a co-man, it's going to be more labor. If you're a brand, it's going to be more cogs. So it does depend on your shape of your business, what the factors that give you that visibility are. But it's like, how much cash in did I have? How much cash out did I have? What is my forecast of my expenses out and expenses in? And breaking that down into categories and making sure you are making predictions and being right. Like that is
Yeah.
the most important KPI. Then from there, I think there's a lot of fun KPIs. There's like retail shop reordering is a huge one as a wholesaler. Like same thing on the consumer side. It's like
Yeah.
re-engagement and retention. I think it's things like, I think if you have issues like overselling and stuff like that, then I think you need to have a quality assurance metric until you get those airtight. So I think you need some QA metrics around, hey, returned orders, failed orders, things like that. But cash and money, honestly, go to the bank account level. Hell, just like, don't even lie to yourself with like cooked books that you've confused yourself with for tax reasons. Like just go to our bank account, like how much money went in, how much money went out, LLC, that LLC. Okay, what is my forecast expense and income? Oh, I need to buy a machine here, there. Just do the work. And I think that's the most important one.
Do you have any other additional best practices around KPI to guide day-to-day decisions for
I
these
mean, if I'm going to
operators?
be real, that last thing I gave was it. I kind of do
Yeah.
that. Like I do for a small business, especially like I'll
Yeah.
go read with the bank account sometimes and just look and then just make sure you do have to have your stuff categorized and your expenses categorized and organized so you can understand that. But I would say practically getting your financial data so you can clearly either in your QuickBooks or your like financial platform or some sort of Excel spreadsheet, just be able to look at your forecasts and your expenses. So just get in the spreadsheet and just map out your forecast both of those incomes and expenses. Make some categories like existing customers, new customers for income. Then for expenses, map out labor, machine equipment, whatever makes sense to you as an owner op, foremost, and just slap some numbers in there. Make sure your accountant or person or CPA or outsourced accounting firm just has a task to like always map that your little spreadsheet or whatever. I'm sure you could find a person to do that. And then just look at that out on a 6-month forecast or a year-long forecast. I think that would go a really long way for a lot of operators.
Yeah. That's really helpful. I also wanted to talk about kind of relationships over transaction and why are buyer operator connections so critical in cannabis?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know. Like, why are they so important? They don't technically need to be, but they are so critical.
Yeah.
It's probably because of the taste of cannabis. You got to have good product. And I think that you got to be in the culture to know good product. I think it's almost like when you meet people that are so heady in this industry, you almost know that unless they're lying and grifting, which I have to pay attention, but if they survived and they have a good rep, whatever. And there's a certain level of like accuracy and quality they're going to have, or at least they'll tell you what they have and it will be accurate at the very least.
Yeah.
Because you have the trust. But people get there a lot. So I think that's it. It's just like the taste of cannabis. You need to know what the consumer wants, what's hot in the culture. And then it helps the retailer sell more, I think.
Yeah, and I think too, on top of that, I was also thinking about the buyer operator connections and how critical it is between manufacturing, growers, like the wholesale to the dispensary and those relationships and why that's important too. I work with a lot of dispensaries and I'm always helping them understand why it's important to bridge those relationships with the other operators and always communicating. And I think that sometimes those relationships are more important than the transaction. Obviously, everybody has to make their money
Yeah.
and they have to get paid, but I think the relationship is really important to foster.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like everything. Yeah. Yeah. If you're hiring, it's interesting. I know some brands or top brands that are like exploring going backwards. Like they're like, we're cutting off all tools and we're just going straight like phone call, relationship, like nothing. You can't buy without the relationship directly. And they called directly. I was like, that was crazy when I heard that. I was like, you're going like actively going towards only relationships, no other way of ordering. I don't think they pulled it off. You need an e-com menu, but
I agree.
uh, yeah, you need an e-com menu. I think they're kidding themselves a little bit, but it's so effective. You have to do it. Yeah, you gotta, as a founder, you gotta bust down doors and open doors and get those retailers bought into you. And
It's really important, especially if you're a new market and you can't travel your entire state to meet every single vendor on the planet. And if they're all on one platform or multiple platforms, it gives you the ability to say, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that product existed. Let me order it. And then you'll get face to face time with that. Interested enough, I do a lot of dispensary launches and you couldn't find everybody on these wholesale platforms. And then you had websites and all the salespeople are gone, and so you're filling out these contact forms on
yeah,
websites, and then some people never responded. Sometimes we didn't even hear back 30
that's crazy.
days, which I thought was so crazy for a lot of our clients who were launching brand new dispensaries, people not even responding. And I thought, what's going on with some of these operations? Like, where's the structure? Like, where's the wholesale structure? Where are the systems set up? Whether they're using like a distribution platform or ERP or some kind of tool or something, some kind of technology that's saying, hey, these people want to order your product. I think going back to old school sales,
Yeah,
that would be very challenging.
yeah, and that's why you like meet people at the events and you get an intro for someone, or yeah. And I think the product lines are also cool too. You get to talk about the products too and like new stuff, like you're saying, like how like a new
Yeah.
product line, they get it on the shelves the consumer may want. I think that there's a lot of like product discovery, fun interactions that happen in there. Not always, but like sometimes, hey, I need some weed. You got the weed. But then it is, hey, we got this new product. Hey, I think this is hot. And cool product discovery for the consumer.
Yeah. But I think product discovery is really important.
I think it's like I misunderstood that coming into this industry. How like big people take active product discovery and I didn't know how important, how much of a critical pillar that was of a cannabis company.
It's even an important pillar for me as somebody. I have to research product because a lot of times my clients who are brand new to cannabis, they don't know anything about cannabis. They actually do not even know how to get in front of most of those products. So I have to be that bridge a lot of the times. So it's really important for me to know what's out in the market and what brands are out there, what states that they're in. So I feel like everybody in the
Yeah.
industry has a role when it comes to understanding what brands are out there and what new ones are coming online.
Product trend you saw that you thought was cool, or like the new product trend that you thought was interesting.
I recently saw this product, which I'd never seen before, which was a dab, and it was a 3-compartment dab. So they had 3 different types, and each dab was a different flavor or terpene. And so
Cool.
I thought that was really interesting. It was in one little gram container and divided into 3 sections. I had never seen that before. And there's just different edible products out there. I think there's always gonna be gummies and vapes. I'm seeing a lot of vapes that have 3 different types of vape oils loaded into one. like
That's
all
nice. So
in
the
one.
3-to-1. I like it. I
The
like
3
it.
in 1, and I think something that which I'd never seen before, and maybe other people have, but one of the cultivation facilities out here in Colorado, they sell a party box that has 28 pre-rolls in it, and I thought, "My gosh, if I had that in my 20s, I would have bought one and taken it to all the parties." And I thought, "Man, that's really cool." The nice little party pack. So I am seeing a lot of really cool things. I think also the branding and marketing and packaging. There's a smaller, it might even be one of the social equity licenses here in Colorado, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the exact name of the brand, but their packaging was incredible. It's like old mixtapes. You remember doing, like, mixtapes from the '90s, and so they
Yeah.
go back to that old retro of boom boxes, packaging like boom boxes and
Cool. I think
mixtapes,
I've seen them. I think I've seen. No, I think I've seen theirs.
which I
But
thought that was, really creative.
I'm a packaging nerd too. I love the cool pack.
Yeah.
So,
I
I
like
think
cool packaging.
do you like the beverages? Did you get into those?
I'm really a big beverage drinker, but they are getting better, the options.
I think that was my last moment. Was I was at like a party and we had the weed drink out, and some people were drinking those instead of beer. Just like that moment, I was like, oh, that's fucking cool. This is cool. Like this moment wouldn't have happened without the cannabis industry. I was like, nice.
Yeah, I'm not a heavy consumer now. Where was all this when I was in my 20s? I can't imagine a 21-year-old now or even in their 30s. It must be so incredible just to go try everything. I can't really do that, or I'll never be able to leave my house and
Yeah.
do anything again. It really affects me so much that I can't function. I don't function well on it.
Yeah, we go through
It's
phases with it. Yeah. We all have different
Yeah.
relationships with cannabis.
Oh, sure. Back when I was bud tending, though, I was trying everything, which
Right.
was 16 years ago, so a while ago. So why do you
Wow.
think the take rate, and explain this take rate to me, pricing
Right.
models don't work in cannabis, and what is a healthier alternative?
In terms of the wholesale market,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think that, yeah, basically for context, there's like the wholesale marketplaces that connect the brands and the retailers. Like LeafLink's a big one that works in most of the different states. And then there's Apex, and we just launched Distru Commerce, which is our marketplace. And LeafLink since switched to the take rate model. I don't know. I don't know if it reflects the value of what is being provided there. Because I don't know. It's debatable. Are these marketplaces, or are these just e-commerce portals? I think more often than not, these are just e-commerce portals for them to enter in their orders, probably 80% of the orders. So I think that a take rate model makes sense when the retailer is discovering through that platform, like Amazon. Like
Yeah.
every order is a retailer discovering your product. Nothing is sales rep. Probably something is, but almost nothing is sales rep entered in there. Um,
Interesting.
I think that's the line, is how much of the orders are generated by the buyer is correlates to how much take rate you should or can take. And I just don't think that this industry is or may ever be oriented around those marketplace dynamics. So how we've approached it is we have a standalone e-commerce product. It's separate than our ERP. You can just buy that and build your own menu and host your products and sell them. And you can buy that starting at $600 a month. We just scale on users, but it's pretty reasonable. So we just feel like that's more reflective of what you're paying for, which is a e-commerce tool for your sales team to align around.
I think that's really helpful. And I also want to discuss some practicals. I really think it depends on what state, where the market's at in that state. Colorado, obviously, we're very saturated. We've had a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
ups and downs. But some of these new emerging markets, man, they're just crushing it right now. And so every market is different. I want to talk about a couple strategies for maybe operators that might be facing a tough year. And so we know that next year could be a make or break for many of these cannabis businesses. What's the biggest move operators can make right now to strengthen their position?
Wait, why next year?
Let's just say the end of this year and the beginning of next year, because we are getting into the last quarter of the year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's certain markets are just really tough right now. There's no question about it. Honestly, I wish our industry had more like courage in a sense, or more organization in terms of like around, I don't know, what the regulations could be providing in terms of value to the industry. That is honestly one of the biggest problems in the industry is that there is just blatant, it's like you just go to LA and you just like type in delivery and you can just get an order in 5 minutes from a dude on a bike for the cheapest deal ever. And you're like, what world am I in? Like, I'll work for the police. Like, just give me the power to stop this, and I will. End of day, I can cuff 30 of these people. I'm not saying that I like want to arrest my homies out there, but I think that regulations and how those interface into it is the reality of a lot of what's happening in certain markets. I think there's
Yeah.
market effects. I think there's hemp laws that are not considerate to what the cannabis companies are doing. I think that there's oversaturation of cultivation. I think that's the most under discussed one. Can we just talk of cutting off some supply? Like these massive mega farms. I'm like, do we need that? Do we
Yeah.
want that? Is this industry better with it? Is the consumer benefiting because of this? Absolutely not. It's like, I don't think so. Like, I think craft or smaller grows do better.
I agree.
I just think they're better products. I trust them more. I think they're healthier. I think they're safer. I just trust them more. Like,
Yeah.
everything. So I think that is the reality of the things that are putting some pressure on these operators. So I have a lot of sympathy for them.
What do you do? Because
Yeah,
the
yeah,
problem is, like, you have markets that are capped and ones that aren't. You got Colorado, it's a free for all. And I mean, our price per pound here, I mean, it starts like $200 and then goes up to maybe
yeah.
600 for top shelf. What do you do? It used to be $2,500 a pound. I don't know what it's like in California, the price per pound, but it's
I
crazy.
I think it goes back to find the size and shape of the companies that are doing the best in your state. And you need to think about the long term of how you can work your business to look at least something more like that or get the appendages of your businesses that make you a more secure business. If that's adding more cultivation, if that's refining your cultivation, look for the layers, map out what are the layers that you have and what you can add, remove, change, mold. Maybe it's a distribution hub. Maybe it's a manufacturing. You add co-manning and you bring in a person in there. Find the relationships and partnerships and company profile that can get you to a healthier NX. Because the reality is, some of these business models might not be able to survive the next leg. It's like before you could, but now you can't. And so that is a thing that existential thing. And if you can't make those moves that are necessary, like you identified what you want and you want to go for it, but you can't do it, now we're getting into some tougher conversations about entrepreneurship. I'm gonna be real,
Yeah.
then you need to get more, then you need to get lean, then you need to be in your mind an immigrant family that just got off the boat and is running your thing like you sleep in that facility. And you need to trick your brain to like that.
When you say co-manning, or do you mean co-manufacturing?
Yeah,
Okay.
co-manufacturing. Oh, you're not just, oh, I build my product and then I bring on another person to manufacture their product. Sometimes just that right equation of the right business model. And every operator I know experiments with these things. Almost they love it. I think they really enjoy the experimenting with different shapes of, I'm going to grow my own and I'm going to start partnering with this person over here. But I think there's a lot of value in just auditing where you are, what you are in your state, and doing a double check on that, looking at the industry and looking at who do I respect the most. I talked to my friends and said, who are the top 5 healthiest companies? And I got that list from 5 of my friends. And I looked at the business model of those 25 companies or whatever number it is at the end. What's sticking out?
Yeah.
And I think that is a very illuminating thing that might be the reality. And then going back to the regulations, I think stay very active. I think that we have more pull than we sometimes give ourselves credit in those public forums and talking with people and emailing, getting in the ears of the government. I think that they do work with us. And so I think
Yeah.
that they do. And so I think staying vigilant on the right messages and staying focused on the right things and not getting up there. We are seeing some traction there in certain states, but I think that we need to get some of those movements over the finish line to have a healthier industry.
Yeah, too, and I think back to, like, relationships that we were talking about earlier. If you're a small
Yeah.
operator and you are
Yeah.
struggling, and I have to say, this is what some of these 10-year-old operators did in Colorado. "I'm not gonna survive. I need to get together with another operator,
Yeah.
and we need to then bring our brands under one umbrella."
Yeah.
And now if you go back, you'll find all these old school brands from Colorado, and they're all under one umbrella now. and that's how they're surviving because they can't just do it as that one brand, and it's almost better to have multiple brands. And also a lot of times dispensaries, I have a lot of clients saying, "Hey, I don't wanna deal with 20 vendors. I want one-stop shopping." And
Yeah.
that's also something to think about because that's I think for dispensaries, they don't wanna be bogged down having to deal with 10 different salespeople, which is hence the e-commerce stuff that make it easy to go on and place orders, but also they just it'd be easy if I can get everything I'm looking for under one brand or one umbrella, and so I'm meeting a lot of these operators have 6 or 7 brands that they're representing under, like, kind of one manufacturing facility.
Yeah, it's exactly what I mean. Yeah, exactly. Oh, hey, the single brand model isn't scalable anymore and we're sustainable because of the change in retail desires for one stop shop. And I need to adapt. Exactly. And
Yeah,
it's those audits that you always got to stay 3 to 5 years ahead of. And you got to be on the winning side of that coin. Because there's
yeah.
some also on the other side, there's some small operators that maybe have a vertical op, maybe like a few retails or maybe just like a sweet spot processor in the right location, and they're doing fantastic. So there are still those operators that are small and they just don't complain about it or talk about it because they're just happy and doing great. I know quite a few of those that are like small operators doing great. I think they are doing great. They believe they're doing great and they are. And like they're profitable, they have the right economics, and a little bit of it's luck, location, licensing, and all that. But
Oh, yeah.
I met some operators. I was like, they gave me their numbers. I was like, damn, you're printing money. You're very profitable.
It's true. I actually know a lot of small operators, standalones that are actually doing great and they have great locations
Yeah,
and they're in a town where they're only allowed to have 2 or 3 dispensaries. And they're in rural areas where the city is probably an
yeah,
hour to 2 to 3 hours away. And then they've got bordering states where it's not legal. And so those guys are crushing it right now.
yeah. Like those are exactly some of the models I was thinking that are doing really exactly. I know quite a few of those that are exactly that and doing really well.
Yeah, so how can these operators protect the margins without sacrificing growth right now?
Get leaner. Just look at your expenses.
Yeah.
Just, yeah, look at those expenses. Like re-look at your expenses in every way possible, and really analyze how you can cut down. Different labor tactic, buying a new machine, whatever. Just like new creative partnerships with someone to outsource a task, find a new procurement supplier, and do some vetting there of saving costs there. This is a battle of inches, not miles. That's the thing is a lot of people like you got to keep doing that work and finding those wins. It is tough, but if you look at it from different angles, you can keep finding a way to cut a little bit more.
I think doing the work is really important and really spending time to do the research. And
Yeah.
that's why I think data is important. And I
Yeah.
think you have to be data driven now in 2025 in the cannabis industry. The people I know that are doing really well, they are very data driven and they
Yes.
look at that data to make choices. And hey, guess
Yeah.
what? This product's not selling. I'm going to stop ordering it. So just like a manufacturer, okay, this product's not selling. Maybe we should take it off our line and not produce this product anymore and just produce the products that do well, but make more of it and get more of it out there. And maybe that's another way to go lean.
Yeah. And you need the data to see those insights. If you and I, Jenny, were going to do an audit of a Distru customer, we were like going to do that audit of where there's low hanging fruit of cutting costs or what is the best product line. If you don't have your data together, you might not be able to even get that insight. And then now all you're doing is trying to question your data and clean up your data for 6 months before you even can do that. Yeah. Data provides a lot of insights.
The market has changed so much. And I think now for these operators to survive in Colorado, they really do have to start the ones that are afraid of tech, other than the ones that are mandated, like POS and the seed to sale tracking. But I think it's important to take advantage of these
Yeah.
platforms and all this data out there to real and get consumer data and get all that information so your business can survive in this
To be fair,
industry.
I think that most of the operators are though. To be fair to the industry, I think like the industry has caught on. I think most are using data. I think it's rare and rare nowadays to find an operator that's in. What do you think about the oversupply problem? What do you think about just the fundamental premise of like just literally if prices are unsustainable. Is there too much supply? Like it's always demand and supply. It is that simple. I'm curious because there's only so much you can control on demand besides
I know small
retail.
manufacturers are having a hard time getting on shelves because dispensaries have so many choices. Now, depends what
Yeah.
market you're in. Obviously, if we have a market that's just getting started, there might not be a lot of product, but Colorado or California or Washington, Oregon, and
Yeah.
Massachusetts, well-established states where the market's flooded with product. Concentrates are the number one seller in Colorado of products. And
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I can't even keep up with how many there must be like 30 or 40 brands of cartridges in Colorado, and they're all competing against each other.
Yeah. And I think we could just do for an audit on the governmental level of like how much massive supplies are there of that is driving the price. I think if you just, I'm more just saying if you just remove some of the supply of this, would that still just increase the baseline across the board, across everything to keep it a little bit healthier?
Yeah,
I don't know what the answer to that is because what you described is the problem. And I feel like there's got to be a price point where that can work out. But we're going to have a culling. There's going to be more operators falling off. There's no question
yeah.
about it. But that's been happening for a decade. So I just don't know when the end is the question. I think is I prefer the end to stop a little like within the next few years. And we hit stasis. I'd like to find healthy stasis, not troubled stasis.
Yeah, and
Um,
then we'll be in the next chapter after that. It'll be a new chapter for everyone after
Yeah,
that.
maybe. And maybe that doesn't come. I don't know. We'll find out. Like, I think it's important to ask the right questions.
Too, I also would like to say that analysis or that audit, that we were talking about, the oversupply of the
Yeah.
market or the supply chain, it depends on what state is a free for all, a
Yeah.
free market
Yeah.
versus capped. Because I think to what you were saying, some of these cap markets, they are controlling in a sense, they are controlling the supply chain a little bit. But once again, what if we have these big companies that bring 20 brands out of the manufacturing and now even though we have a capped market,
Yeah.
there's still
Yeah.
an oversupply problem because now we got 20 brands running out of one manufacturing facility.
Yeah, at least the price per gram though will not get plummeted to an a bit like I think the safety layer I'm looking for is there isn't this 40% of all of the product that's used to make these concentrates and things like that is literally bottom of the barrel pricing because of some mega growth. I'm just saying if you could just cut out that one piece of the equation when it comes time to sell their product, at least they're not, oh, you're overpriced compared to this like crazy low price versus oh, actually, yeah, it's a little bit more expensive. I just think, and I think the consumer can eat it on the front end. Like I
Yeah.
really do. I
Yeah.
know it. I know that's there, but then the retailers compete. It's a vicious cycle. But
I did actually have some manufacturers tell me when the MSOs left Colorado, it actually helped the market.
yeah,
It helped a lot of the market actually because they were controlling the market and then they left. And so a lot of people actually were celebrating that.
yeah, and like I'd like to see more actions like that taken over the next 10 years if we can.
So in wrapping up, do you have any kind of best practices that would be helpful for cannabis operators that you want to throw out there for them?
Right now, if I'm going to be honest, it's use an AI tool like ChatGPT, incorporate it in your day to day, use it 3 to 4 times a day, just in your daily research tasks, activities, understanding the market, going to do some research on a competitor, a product line, or something.
Oh,
Um,
that's good.
what is,
Interesting.
yeah, going to find, yeah, go talk to it and just, you can hook up your, like, you can hook up all sorts of things. Just go in there and say, hey, go do this research on what product I should create and have a fun combo with it. I really do actually encourage that. I think that you'll find some new wins and some new ways to automate and streamline your business through AI that you'll get inspired by if you use ChatGPT or whatever tool, Grok and Gemini and Claude, whatever, any of them. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're all the
put
same.
you could actually put your competitor's website link in there in the AI and say, "Give me a synopsis or a summary of all the product they're
You can
selling,"
go
and it
even further than that. You can say,
yeah,
here's my website. I want you to go find top 10 competitors, organized with a reason by what can threat you think on a scale of 1 to 10, and it will
yeah,
just figure all that out for you.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's some good tips for especially for people who are good at using AI and maybe they didn't think about that or maybe that's something they're already doing. I know I have some clients that definitely haven't done that, and they're a little old school, but I think that's actually a wonderful way to get some data without having to
Right.
be on some kinda dashboard that's telling you, some
Yeah.
platform with a dashboard.
It's great for web research.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time today. I think this was really some helpful information for any existing operator or even somebody, whether they're in an emerging market like Minnesota or they're getting ready to stand themselves up here in New York. I do appreciate your time and coming on and being a guest today.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Of course. It was awesome.
I just want everyone to know that this podcast is going to be streaming on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, and then also check out my YouTube channel at Under the Microscope with Jenny, and you'll be able to watch this on video. So
Cool.
thanks, everyone.
And if you're a wholesaler, brand, or distributor, come check out Distru and Distru Commerce. We're an awesome e-commerce solution to help you work with your retailers. Thank you.
And also, I'll actually have all the
Cool.
information will be posted on my YouTube channel in the comment section as well.
Cool. Nice.
All right.